Finally, after countless sequels of them fucking it up in numerous ways and just going off the rails, insane and just awful, they bring it back. A good, decent sequel. Finally, Halloween H20. Alright, I gotta take this off now because it's, the volume's not too good. And you're a psycho, you terrify me. Ugh, now it fell. It's weird. It's laying on the ground and it's just, it looks like there's actually a face coming out of the ground. That's horrifying. That's, ugh. But also, it feels like we're in a Halloween movie again. All these sequels of like Michael murdering off his family because of Celtic cults and stuff. It's just, that's all gone. It's all wiped away. We're back in what feels like a Halloween movie. Thank God. Halloween H20, as it's kind of, it's hard to call it H20 really. It's just easier to go Halloween H20, but that, it's in the water? Is it a Jaws sequel? What's going on here? Halloween H20 stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, and a small cameo from Janet Leigh, and it's directed by Steve Miner, the guy who brought us Friday the 13th Part 2, Part 3, and then some other stuff. He's kind of a... Would you call him a hack or like just a competent director you bring in to make a movie cheap and fast, and he does a competent job usually, but he's not necessarily an artist. And this movie set 20 years after the original events of Halloween 1 and 2, if you're a purist, and it's like Halloween 2, I didn't necessarily care for it, but I'll take those events as canon. Okay, Laurie's Michael's brother, and that adds more reason why. I felt like it kind of overcomplicates it, but it's still a neat, interesting dynamic. It's very personal. He has to kill his family. His sister, there's something about that weird Oedipus complex or whatever, weird stuff going on there, so I appreciate it, even if maybe it's too complex, because the original, it was nice, just like, it's a random murder, it's creepy, could happen to anyone. But now, yeah, 20 years later, and Laurie, she faked her death in a car crash, and she's living under a new identity off in California with a new kid, Josh Hartnett, and Michael Myers has tracked her down. He's killed some people, he's found her, and on Halloween he's coming to get her again, and it's a showdown, and this time Jamie Lee Curtis ain't running away. She's planning on kicking his fucking ass. And Jamie Lee Curtis, it can't be said how important it is that she's back here. She's the important glue that holds this together and makes it work. Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, much needed and very good here. She's fantastic as Laurie Strode. And she's very different in this one from like the original. Obviously, it's been 20 years she's living basically looking over her shoulder, waiting for Michael to come get her again. And it's made her an alcoholic and overprotective parent. She's going through a lot, but it's like, okay, it's Halloween, and now that she's going to show down with Michael again, it means so much now. Like, it's been 20 years, she's prepared, she's ready to take it to her brother. It's a personal thing, and in that way, you know, it kind of, in a lot of the sequels, it bothered me, the familial connection, like, go kill your niece, go kill your step uncle, cousin stuff, like that was dumb. But here, he's coming to kill his sister. It's sister against brother. They're gonna try to kill each other. I like that, and it worked in this one. And the mask is good again. The Myers mask, I thought it looked good enough in 6, and it looks better here too. It doesn't quite look like the original, and it's never going to, but this is a good version of the mask. I like it. And yeah, it looks creepy a lot of times. It's really good. Something about the hair too. Sometimes with the masks, the hair is like too slicked back and it looks stupid in this. And like Part 6, I like that it at times can look very shaggy in a way that's like really creepy. We're talking about wig hair right now, but I feel like it's important. And the direction in this movie, it does feel like an old Halloween movie. Not everything, but it's got a feel, the look, more or less. And yeah, the shots where Michael's lurking in the background and creepy stuff like that. But at the same time, it's not a greatly directed movie. It's just like, because we have Laurie Strode back and the plot, it feels like we're back to the good old times. Plus, it's a good movie, so that helps. But it's still not a great movie. Steve Miner is kind of a hack. Like, he's competent enough to like make a movie and get it out there. But there's no artistry here, really. There's false jump scares. The music is too over the top at times where they're trying to really sell things. It's like so many great moments in this would have played better without music. Times when you see like Michael, it's like, do that without a musical sting right there or the musical score there to try overplay the creepiness. Play it in silence, it would work better. But yeah, the movie's a little over the top, a little bit heavy-handed with stuff. It's not a subtle movie necessarily. They overplay a lot of stuff, which is annoying and a bummer, and it comes from a guy who's not an artist, so an artist would know when to be subtle, not overplay things, not be over the top. And also, the movie, as far as writing goes, like Kevin Williamson, who's worked on the Scream movies and stuff, he did a rewrite or something on this. And you can kind of feel that the movie does, it feels like a Halloween movie, but it feels like a Scream movie or any of the countless 90s horror slasher movies. They all, when you watch them, they have a feel and a look that this has. It feels like a Halloween movie, but it equally feels like one of those 90s horror movies. They have something about them, an aura where they're easily recognizable. That's a 90s horror movie. They had a thing about them, and I could tell, and I was like, this feels very 90s, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not always a good thing. But I do like the writing overall. I think it's got some nice touches to it for sure, but the pacing in this movie is a problem, and you could argue that with the first one. It takes a long time to get to the point, the meat, the action of the story. And this one does too. We got some stuff early on, like little smidges. Here's a little taste of Michael right now, but the big thing is like the last 20 minutes. But the pacing is bad. It draws on. For the movie's an hour, 20 minutes or whatever, and the first hour is just a lot of setup, getting to know the characters and what's going on. But it's a little too repetitive, a little too tedious at times, where we're just kind of getting over and over. Here's what happened 20 years ago. Here's what Josh Hartnett's doing. Yeah, the pacing's not very good in that way, which is a major problem. The pacing should have been a little bit quicker and not so repetitive in that first hour. Do something to fix it, because they still have good stuff in there. Like Jamie Lee Curtis has some really great scenes. And don't forget the very beginning where Joseph Gordon-Levitt shows up. That was actually pretty fucking awesome. He's in the house with the hockey stick. Alright, no one mess with me because I've had a couple suspensions for getting a little crazy with the stick. And I was like, you're going to be Batman one day. Because we have a cast of, what is it, like preppy private school kids? That's where Laurie Strode's teaching now at a private school. And it's her son and his friends. And I don't mind Josh Hartnett or Michelle Williams in this. I think they're likable enough. I don't hate them, but I don't really love them. I found them okay. They were fine, and I didn't really want to see them die. Their friends, I didn't give a shit about when they died, but there is a couple good moments of tension and terror for sure. Like when Michael's sneaking around, that's all well and good, but there's a moment where like Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams are trapped in between a door that's locked and a little gate that's trapping Michael from getting to them, and he's swinging, slashing at them, trying to get him. Jamie Lee opens the door and then becomes face to face with Michael. And that moment was amazing. I got chills. I was like, oh shit, this is great right here. This is fantastic. That was the moment, besides the big finale, which I loved. I really appreciate the finale to this. Like, it's not all perfect, but when we get to the moment, the big end, we finally get closure for the series, more or less. It was so satisfying. We finally get to see an end to their arc. And I was like, this is great. This is actually fantastic. And that's what really gives me a lot of goodwill to this, is Jamie Lee Curtis is doing good work in this. I like her character arc. I like her acting in this. I like her character story, how she's changed a lot. She gets to be very interesting in this, if not a little too repetitive of the same stuff. She's got a drinking problem, and she's very worried about Michael coming to get her, and they kind of just do it over and over and over. I got it. They did it too much. But to see her finally face off with him and kick his ass at times and really bring it to him, it's so satisfying to get a final closure to it, and it's great. Sadly, there's more sequels, but like I can imagine in 1998 watching this being like, it's finally over, and it's super satisfying. They chopped off all those bad sequels. It's like Halloween 1 and 2 in continuity, nothing else happened. Here's closure, here's a nice satisfying ending to this whole story, and it was good in that way. I really liked that. I was very happy about that. LL Cool J was very enjoyable. He's writing like a sexy thriller novel or whatever. I enjoyed LL Cool J in this. I thought he was a lot of fun. With a better director, not Steve Miner. Bring in back John Carpenter, or just someone with more talent and taste to know. Don't oversell it with this big over-the-top musical score that's overplaying moments that work better in silence. It's just bad direction. An artist could have made this a really great movie. Steve Miner made it a competent, good enough movie, an okay movie. And it can't be said how enjoyable and satisfying the conclusion is. It's nice when you end a story and like, here's finality, here's a solid ending. When you do that good, it makes up for some flaws, because like Dark Knight Rises, it has problems, but it gave a nice satisfying conclusion to that story. So I was like, oh, it's fucking great, it's amazing. And in this, it's an okay, good movie. It's got a lot of problems, but the satisfying conclusion, that makes up for it. Laurie versus Michael, that makes up for it. That's a lot of greatness right there. But it can't be oversold how bad the pacing and setup and all was, and poor direction. bad music kind. Overall, I still like the movie. I think it's good. It just meets that bare minimum. I'd give Halloween H20 a B-. Any worse, like if the script didn't hit those sweet spots, if it didn't have that satisfying end to the story, it would be like Halloween 2, where it's just like, it's just a generic slasher or whatever. It has a little bit of that 90s slasher magic, something, they sprinkled it on all their movies that gave it just something about it that has a nostalgic, nice, warm feeling, where even if it is very cliche at times or very dull and bad pacing, something about them. All those 90s slasher movies. I Know What You Did Last Summer, I rewatched that. They all have something very watchable about them. Comment below, tell me your thoughts on Halloween H20, H2O, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.